Today we're going to talk to a woman who is leading a movement to sideline pancreatic cancer. Joy in the City, True Stories is a program that highlights people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often we hear about the problems and the dysfunction in our culture. But we're coming from a different approach as we look at the good things that are going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. Today we're going to spend a few moments with a remarkable woman who is leading a movement not just in our area but around the world to fight pancreatic cancer. The Griffin Family Foundation's signature initiative is Sideline Cancer, which was started in 2012 by a motivated group of students to help advance pancreatic cancer's research. To date, the organization has donated $290,000 to a research effort. Our correspondent Suzanne Schaefer talks with Cathy Griffith about the purpose behind this cause as well as what motivates her to continue.
Cathy, thank you for taking time to talk with us today. Can you tell me what is sideline cancer?
Well, that'll be pretty easy. And first of all, thank you, Suzanne, for having me on this today. And pancreatic cancer is what led us to creating Sideline Cancer. So back in 2010, my husband, at age 48, was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And so what do you do when you're told that you have weeks to live? So what my husband chose, he knew immediately that God had good for him and that good would come out of it. He felt if his Lord and Savior had to suffer and die on the cross, if this was the cross he had to bear, he knew that good would come out of all of this, and it did.
In his speech to the ESPYs nearly 20 years ago, Jim Valvano, who would later die of cancer, said, "Don't give up, don't ever give up." And when I think of those that have died of pancreatic cancer, I don't think of don't give up, don't ever give up. I think more of the time for a cure is now. When I look in the eyes of my sons and think about their future, I think the time for a cure is now. And when I look out over this crowd in this room and I see the love and commitment of this community, I know the time for a cure is now.
Then in 2013, we met the 2012 Science and Engineer Fair winner, Jack Andraka, who was a 9th grader at the time. And we hosted him, and we had a t-shirt campaign called Tackle Cancer. And he told us it was very limited, and we created Sideline Cancer with Jack Andraka and a cancer patient, student, Altoona High student, Kiara Sheardon. So 2 students are responsible for being the inspiration behind Sideline Cancer. Then 2 other students, Kiki and Morgan, saw the I can in the word Sideline Cancer, and we took that to be a message that the I can, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. We trademarked Sideline Cancer, and now we engage every student to have an I can attitude and a believe always spirit.
That's beautiful. How do you raise awareness for sideline cancer?
How we raise awareness is through fundraising events. So we have an annual Tee Off for a Cure to Sideline Pancreatic Cancer golf tournament. We also have annual dinner called Griff's I Can Sideline Pancreatic Cancer Dinner. This August 9th will be our 10th annual dinner at the casino at Lakemont Park.
I'm looking around the room and it's decked out in purple. Why is purple important?
Purple is a very important color because it is the color of pancreatic cancer. Just like pink is designated for breast cancer, purple is the color of pancreatic cancer. And I really even, Greg took that a step further when he was diagnosed. You know, it's the purple color of royalty of Jesus.
Can't beat that one.
No.
And what have you seen accomplished in cancer research since you began this organization?
So when Greg was diagnosed with this back in 2010, he was stage 4, which means it was also in the liver and the lymph nodes. So when a patient presents with that diagnosis, they are non-surgical. So that meant he could do chemotherapy, radiation, and we did that. And we were fortunate to be seen by one of the world's best pancreatic surgeons, Dr. James Moser, who was formerly of UPMC Pittsburgh. Now he's at BIDMC, Harvard Medical School up in Boston. So when we saw Dr. Moser, Greg immediately said to Dr. Moser, God is bigger than this cancer. I know good is going to come out of this. Trust me, Dr. Moser, good's going to come out of this. And it has. And so instead of getting a couple weeks of life, Greg lived 19 months. And it was through our community, our family, and our friends that back in 2011 at our second annual dinner, they presented Greg and I with the Greg and Cathy Griffith Family Foundation. So back to where we are now 10 years, what's really happening now in pancreatic cancer is that they hope one day there'll be an FDA-approved blood test. And what that blood test will be for is for the high-risk population. So who are the high-risk population for this God-willing FDA-approved test in the next couple years? That would be for a patient that has lost an immediate relative to pancreatic cancer. It would also be for a patient that presents in the ER with a pseudocyst on their pancreas. And maybe they're in the ER for a kidney stone. And they get that CAT scan and they get told there's something on your pancreas. A simple blood test can be taken to alleviate your anxiety as to if it's pancreatic cancer or not. The third criteria and consensus is sudden onset of type 2 diabetes. So you go to your primary care physician and you find out, wow, I haven't been feeling well, and you have a sudden onset of type 2 diabetes. The consensus statement would be then that you could also have that test done to see if pancreatic cancer might be the culprit of your sudden onset of type 2 diabetes. So that wasn't even on the table back in 2010. And in 2019, there are about 5 different organizations around the world that are working to perfect that and get FDA approval. And I'm really excited to see how God gets someone from the sideline to the finish line for an early detection test for the high-risk population.
That is amazing. That in just a decade.
In just a decade.
It's come that far.
Yes.
Also, what else has happened in the same decade as far as cancer and its ranking, the pancreatic cancer ranking on?
Yes. Well, right now, currently, the National Cancer Institute has statistics on cancer and what types of cancer. So the number 1 leading cause of all cancer death right now today is lung cancer. Number 2 is colon, and number 3 is pancreatic cancer. What the National Cancer Institute is expecting by 2020, it should be, we hope not, but it could be the second leading cause of all cancer death. So it will surpass colon and become the second leading cause of cancer death here in the United States.
So this blood test could be an early detection.
Yes, and save lives. And so it's really important to have advocates. And really there are approximately 74 organizations around the globe We all have gotten together in 2016 and created the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition. So we remain autonomous in fundraising, but we feel we are stronger together, united. So that was formed in 2016. And so we're one of the 74 that are a part of the World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition.
And what role has your faith played in leading Sideline Cancer?
I really feel that God is going to be the one to get us to the finish line. And when I say us, I say World Pancreatic Cancer Coalition, because it's His will to want to help us out, help all of us out. And when you come together, when you unite, no matter if that's your churches uniting, no matter if that's the Pancreatic Cancer Coalition uniting, no matter if that's government uniting, when people come together and form a strong Marshall Plan of action, the world changes. And so I really feel that one day we will see an end to all cancer, and it will be to His glory. And so when I'm with world-renowned doctors, we begin every one of our events with a prayer, giving the glory to God and sending all that energy up to Him. And that's how all of our events take place.
You know, when your husband was diagnosed and you're faced with this big, awful storm in your life, you have two choices. You can let it ruin you, or you can turn it into something beautiful, like you've done with Sideline Cancer. What would you say to somebody who finds themselves in the same type of situation, where they've just received a devastating news?
I think immediately the message that I want to send to people is, you really have to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So what happens is, as we mature as Christians, we really have to have a one-on-one relationship with Him. Yes, it's important to have church community, to go to church, to be part of something way bigger than all of us. But even before all of that, you have to have a personal relationship with God. Greg and I were fortunate that we met when we were young. I was in 9th grade, he was in 11th grade. We talked about our spiritual journey. We mentored one another. It wasn't so much about religion to us, it was relationship. And so we ministered to one another our entire married life, putting our trust in Him. And when what we call our nuclear storm hit, we didn't have to peel layers of the onion back. They were already peeled, and we could immediately take God's hand. And so that's what I would say my message would be to people is, spend more time alone with Him in the quiet. Spend more time looking for the God winks. And those God winks are the coincidences that happen each and every day, numerous times a day. He's talking to us through a song on the radio, through a billboard, through people. Find Him. Have a relationship with Him. Love Him. And leave the consequences to Him. And if that message could be given, it's so simple. He loves us. He doesn't promise us everything to go our way, but He promises to be with us in each and every storm if we surrender our will to His will. This is truly just the beginning of what we can do. When I look at those words, I can, I see hope, I see collaboration, I see people of all age groups coming together through their passion and their determination. And what we hope to see one day is that this disease, pancreatic cancer, will be a treatable and curable cancer.
As always, another amazing story of what God is doing through people right here in our community. We want to encourage you to tell your story, regardless if it's about an organization or a personal testimony. We feel it's important to capture what's going on in the lives of people, and we have found time and time again, every story we do, we find people that say they needed to hear that story that day. Please contact us at the office at 944-1948 or by email at stories@jointhecity.org. That's all the time we have today. Thanks for watching Join the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch another episode of people and organizations having an impact in our community through our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Be encouraged because God is moving in our city.